All right, everyone, welcome back to the world of cinematics. It's been a short little hiatus for us since we've talked about Daredevil, and we've had a little talk about some DC news since then. But we're back, and we are ready to bring you a nice, a nice episode for the holiday season. And I don't know what screams Christmas more than, you know, underrated actors. Has everything to do with the season.
Mhm.
But before we do, right off the bat, we have a quick topic we want to talk about. Robert, what? Hey, why?
That was stupid. It worked so hard. Doesn't want to work.
Yeah, I will refrain from commenting. Um, so
And name calling.
and name calling. Um, so I'll be the first to admit it. I was not raised on Indiana Jones. We're talking about Indiana Jones today briefly, and I probably have the least history out of all of us here. My family owned it growing up, and by owned it, I mean my parents owned it, and we were not allowed to watch them.
I'm sorry.
So yes, once I got out of the house, I watched them and I loved them. You two were raised on these movies, right?
Oh yeah.
So as people who were raised on these movies, how do you feel about this upcoming movie in general and the trailer we saw?
Oh, so just seeing Han Solo in a movie that wasn't Han Solo for
Mm.
me as a kid, that was the coolest thing ever. And watching him go through those three films, that was great. And then we had the last one,
Mm.
and it was we have another one coming up. So, and now he's 80 years old.
Mm.
The trailer looked better than it has any right to be.
Yes.
Noted that he's 80 years old, and
Mm.
there's all kinds of fun rumors already, even though we have nothing to substantiate
Right.
any of the claims, in my opinion,
Yeah.
until
And the
until we see
director has
it.
been very vocal on Twitter saying, "You guys are making up rumors and lies for money. Don't believe them."
Yeah, so
Deception. But I mean, how many times has a director said one thing? Oh, let there be light.
yeah,
How many times has a director said something before a movie has come out and totally been lying?
yeah,
It
that's been
happens.
happen, and it's
It's not the standard, but
no.
don't be surprised.
Right, and even if it's not necessarily a lie, it can
Sure.
be interpreted differently. Like when you
From a
have
certain point of view,
yeah, when you
yes.
have Kathleen Kennedy saying, "Oh, Luke Skywalker is so important to this story," and people they have in their mind what important means
Yes,
versus
yes.
what they mean.
Right.
So, but this one's very specific, so that's
Hmm.
why I don't buy into them so far
Yes.
because it's
Rumors
specific.
are that Indy's going to not just hang up his hat, but give it to his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller Bridge. Honestly,
And that he's
I mean,
going to die and they're going to retcon everything. I was like,
yeah, and that we're going to have a new female lead moving forward. Indiana Jones never happened, and
yeah,
I mean, I don't believe it just on its face because that sounds like a dumb bad idea.
right, yeah.
But I also, remember in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when you have that moment where Shia LaBeouf he's holding the hat. Maybe he's gonna put it on. Harrison Ford just takes from. Nope.
Yeah, Harrison Ford and that's not just a Indiana Jones thing, that's a Harrison Ford thing.
Mm-hmm.
He is not okay with people taking over the role.
Yeah,
He's not willing to give up the hat so easily. So I don't buy into that.
I don't buy that he would sign on to this movie knowing that that would happen.
Right. So what I do like about it is it does do the nostalgia and it does do some de-aging as well, so that
Yeah,
you
some
see him in the
really good.
movies.
Yeah, I will say it's a nitpick, but I feel this way. I hate the name. Dial of Destiny
You
seems
do
dumb.
too. Even the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a that's an interesting
Yeah,
title. It flows off the tongue
yeah,
pretty well.
it's a bit wordy, but it rolls off the tongue, and it's very 1950s pulpy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dial of Destiny. Okay, and okay, so
Like what does that mean? Like the
the
dial on a washing machine?
yeah, so the
Set yeah.
Destiny you can go on Wikipedia and look up the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm.
You can find, or you can't actually find, but you can look for the Holy Grail. There's stories of these crystal skulls that have been going back for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then even, the Sankara stones, you can find little allusions to that in, Eastern stories. Dial of Destiny? I mean,
Dial of
it
Destiny.
may have reference to like this ancient Archimedean computer that was found a while back, but I guess I don't know. I don't know. We'll
Computer.
see.
Yeah,
I trust the director. I liked the trailer. I'm in.
I like the director. certainly, and the trailer was a lot better, as I said, than it had any right to be.
Hmm.
Um, I'll see if I'm in, but I am optimistic,
Yes.
cautiously, of course.
Mm.
Um, but going back to the title, I think that's the first sign of the absence of Lucas specifically, because I'm pretty
Right.
sure he came up with all the titles for the
Hmm.
old films, and I wonder what the absence of Spielberg in the director's chair will change as well.
Yeah, I'm not expecting this to recapture the old magic because of the absence of Spielberg and Lucas. But I'm not hoping for that. I'm just hoping just give me a good movie. I hope that it will feel like an Indiana Jones movie. But at this point, if I just at least walk out having had a good time, I'll have said that that's good enough.
They have a great cast.
Oh yeah, yeah.
John Rhys Davies coming back
Maz
was
Mikkelsen,
I just
Toby
kind of
Jones.
yeah, I was kind of looking at this. I was like, why didn't we do this in 2008? A movie more like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was at the kind of the Sylvester Stallone age where it's like you're old, but you're just old enough to pull it off one
Yeah.
last time, whether it was Rocky or Rambo
Mm-hmm.
in 2006 for Stallone and
Yeah.
2008 for Ford. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then bringing back Saul and all that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like Brendan was telling me that Saul was supposed to be in Kingdom of the Crystal
Oh
Skull
really?
at the wedding because he wanted to be in it,
Yeah.
but they said, "Oh, we'll just have you cameo at his wedding at the end." And he's like,
Mm.
"I want to be substantial like I
Yeah.
was, so I'll pass on that one." So him
Mm.
coming back, it must be substantial.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
It looks better than a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
Lucasfilm has put out recently.
Yeah, it looks promising.
Yeah. So.
But I don't have anything else to add. Robert,
Mhm.
you have any thoughts you want to chime in there?
As far as Indiana Jones, yeah, I was raised up on it. Funny enough, if I remember correctly, I think I've actually seen Indiana Jones before I saw any of the Star Wars stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was the opposite for me.
I think
Mm.
I'm pretty sure I saw Indiana Jones before that, and so when I saw
Mm-hmm.
the original trilogy, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"It's Indiana Jones!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reverse. I think
Mm.
I'll have to ask my parents. I'm
Sure.
probably wrong.
Yes.
Thanks, yeah. But anywho, yeah, I'm looking forward to this movie. I don't really know what to expect,
Right.
but I'm excited to have my childhood adventure back.
Mm.
Because that was the thing that Indiana Jones did really good for me. Is like it got me in that adventurous spirit.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go out and study history.
Mm.
Made archaeology look like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts. Yeah, the title doesn't really catch my attention.
Yeah.
The theme song will,
Yeah.
because in the trailer they were playing. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And I will say, just Indiana Jones, he's faced many threats, but we all know his greatest foe is always going to be Nazis. That's his arch nemesis. Just
I thought you were gonna say snakes.
just Nazis in general. But if you're doing an older or not Han Solo, an older Harrison Ford, an older Indiana Jones, I mean, hey, it's 1969. Where are the Nazis still around? I thought it was brilliant of them to decide, oh, we're going to tell the story of Nazis who were part of Operation Paperclip, who were brought over to the Americas to work on the space race,
Yeah.
like Werner von Braun. So that's a way to say like, oh, Nazis, questionable morality of what's going on, kind of do the same thing, but updating it and with a twist.
Yeah. No, that is a good idea, and I'm glad that they decided to go that route as well.
Mm.
And like I said, James Mangold is somebody I can trust with having an aging hero and all
Yeah.
that because he did Logan pretty brilliantly. So
Mm-hmm.
and also have the female supporting character. I
Yeah.
don't want to say sidekick, more like supporting character. Maybe she gets him out to do things again,
Mm-hmm.
just like in Logan.
Yeah. And another thing I just remembered, the very end of the trailer where he does the thing with the whip and then everyone pulls out their guns.
Yeah.
Lately, a lot of humor in movies, especially in Lucasfilm, but in just a lot of movies, it's very MCU, very quippy, mile a minute dialogue, and look how many snarky bits we have. Which that's fine, it can work well. I don't want all humor to be it.
No.
That ending gag there felt very Indiana Jones. Look at all this bravado, and oh crap.
It's situational rather than dialogue
Mm-hmm.
heavy. I mean,
It's a nice inversion of what he did in the first movie, shooting the swordsman.
right. He's the old man with the whip, and everyone has a gun.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I don't remember Banderas being in the trailer.
Yeah, just briefly for like one shot, but I'm curious. He said he's basically just a cameo, so
Oh.
Probably 5 minutes, maybe a scene or two.
Well, that would do him better justice than the Uncharted film.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Yeah, let's just say he was not well used.
Less than impressed.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited. We're looking forward to it. We have concerns, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
I'm
we'll see.
always concerned.
Yeah.
Robert's always concerned about something or other.
Yeah. Hollywood's been
It's just
pretty.
you guys can't see my reactions. They're fantastic.
Yes.
He's just smiling.
Really?
He's happy
All right.
all the time.
We're going to move into our main topic of the day as Robert silently screams in agony. So,
Oh wow.
we have a lot of, it's that time of year. We have a lot of Oscar movies coming out.
Right.
One of which we're going to touch on later in this episode briefly. But it's a great time for, just this time of year, not necessarily right now. It's a great time of year for a director to take an actor that no one's really thought much of, or maybe one that used to be a big success and isn't really thought of much anymore, and say, hey, we're gonna. I know you've got some gold there in those mines. We're gonna mine something great out of you. So we're talking about underrated actors and how a lot of these people they still hopefully have a lot of potential in their acting careers ahead of them. So right off the bat, before we start, just gonna dive into three quick honorable mentions. Anyone want to lead off with the first one?
Sure. For our first honorable mention, we have Adam Sandler, who most of us know from his uh, pretty good comedies in the 90s, terrible comedies in the 2010s, I want to say.
Yeah, Jack and Jill.
Oh boy.
Grown Ups.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh my! I did laugh at
Get
you.
out. Get out now.
This show.
I laughed at one joke in Jack and Jill where, oh my gosh, where his sister gets the runs because she had Mexican food cliche. She goes in the toilet, and as she's going to the bathroom, she's making these noises, and he's like, "Hey, is Evil Knievel in there doing wheelies or something? What's going on?"
That was the only part I laughed at.
Yeah, so yeah.
See,
that
I
was,
laughed
like,
when
one
Al
good joke.
Pacino said, "Burn this. No one can ever see this."
And everyone,
Clearly talking about the movie.
Yeah, yeah, but
So yeah, used to be an excellent comedian, and then just started pumping out the laziest, worst, lowest common denominator comedies that maybe Hollywood has ever seen. I don't know. Maybe it's not as bad as like the parody movies,
right,
but
yeah,
bad.
ooh, those are pretty.
But every once in a while, Adam Sandler decides, "Hey, I'm gonna do a dramatic thing,"
Yeah,
and hot dang, he's awesome. Like Uncut Gems. You think of that, that frenetic energy that Adam Sandler always has, that
yeah,
and apply that to a guy who is a hardcore gambling addict who just made the biggest bet of his life and it all starts falling apart. And what does he start doing? He starts making other bets, other places to try and pay for the debt that he knows he's about to have here, and it's all spiraling and falling apart. You take that same manic energy to
and
the world is falling apart and they're coming for your head, taken seriously, which he can do on occasion. It was really freaking like it was almost scary. You're on edge the whole time. You're paranoid. You're so anxious and upset, and it was anchored by his brilliant performance.
yeah, he can get you to care about him in a lot of situations where you're like, wait, I care about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here? And something else that's a talent that he has that somebody pointed out is that a lot of sometimes you'll get pretentious like Q questions for men or whatever where it's like, why don't you guys like romances? And it's like,
Yeah.
it turns out a lot of guys do like romances because half of his movies are romantic movies.
Yeah.
So he actually has a range, not just comedy or drama, but the rom coms.
Yeah.
Those aren't limited to just women. Adam Sandler is one of those actors that can be a vehicle for that kind of film. Like 50 First Dates, I was surprised that it wasn't just schlocky or stupid or just a dumb comedy.
I was impressed they didn't have a cop out ending.
Yeah, that as well. They didn't just like, oh, she hit her head again, everything's okay. That one really surprised me. Mr. Deeds is also one that surprised me. I was like, wow, this isn't just standard grown-ups or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he does have a range and he can pull a lot of stuff off. He's
Mm-hmm.
not quite as good at it as Eddie Murphy because that guy can really do romance pretty dang well
Yeah.
and convincingly. But it's enough that he sells to a mainstream audience, whether it's his comedy, his romance, or even his dramatic chops as well.
Yeah.
So
I want to see him take a mix of all three of those elements and apply them to a Knives Out sequel. We still have the third one coming up. But yeah, very excited.
cast Sam Sandler.
Yeah. Next honorable mention. You're probably the most passionate about him.
Yeah, Richard Armitage, who is well known for playing Thorin Oakenshield in the
Mm.
Hobbit trilogy. He's I think he was chosen partly because they saw in him what they saw in Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn. He's the kind of guy that will go off by himself, kind of the lone wolf, read his lines, and really try to get into the character.
Mm.
And he even designed the shield
Oh, really?
that Thorin Oakenshield has,
Mm-hmm.
because they're all
Really gets into character.
yeah they're all encouraged to what kind of weapons do you want, and he's like, he's called Oakenshield. Let's figure out what that means, and he
Mhm.
designed it himself, or he gave him a design, and then they brought him the
Sure,
and
yeah.
they're like, he's like, wow, they conjured that up in like 3 days or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I saw him in was this, I think it was 2006 Robin Hood show where he played Guy of Gisborne,
Oh, interesting.
and it was a love triangle slash competition between him, Robin,
Mhm.
and Marion, and
Yeah.
he was quite good in that. So when I heard that he was cast as Thorin Oakenshield, and then I saw
Mm.
that first trailer, I was like, this guy is
He
perfect for
nailed it.
that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very different role for him. I loved him in Hannibal as, the Tooth Fairy, as this
Mhm.
final serial killer in the series. Because most of the serial killers, like Hannibal Lecter himself, like, oh, look at me, I have sophistication, I have class, I'm going to dine on your liver with the finest
Yeah.
wine. Creepy, but kind of that, high class, crusty, creepy.
Mhm.
Whereas this guy, he's like, sexually abused as a child and has tormented him his whole life, and he's kind of disfigured and he's really, uncomfortable about it. He thinks it's worse than it is, but it's really minor. He's a
Mhm.
good looking guy and people like him, but he's too uncomfortable about it to really make any connections. He starts falling in love with a blind woman who can't see that. And
Mhm.
you see all this tenderness and pain, but also this hurt and this hate for people who, especially like his grandmother who made him the way he is. And you see that he is seeking redemption and healing through his killing. It's a really dark, twisted storyline, but he pulled it off perfectly.
Yeah, he's like a really good final boss
Mm-hmm.
because he's an actor who is serious about his craft.
Yeah.
Another fun fact about him: he did a Wolverine. What do you call that?
Podcast. Yeah.
Podcast.
He was
Yeah,
really good as Wolverine.
and it's like, wow, he was. Yeah, he was pretty cool as Wolverine, and it was an interesting premise because it's like a serial killer or something, and it's possible that it was Wolverine
Yeah.
is accused or something like that. But overall, I think he's an actor who deserves another shot at something pretty big
Yeah.
and recognizable. So
Mhm.
you want to go into the last one?
Yeah, our last honorable mention, I'm thinking that she is going to have a bit of success in her future,
I think
considering
so.
that, you know, without getting into the one movie she's done so far, she already is lined up for a Disney remake, a superhero film, and I had forgotten about this earlier, a Hunger Games prequel. She's going to
Did not know
be, yeah, she's going to be all over. Talking about Rachel Zegler, she was she was the main star. She was Maria in this new West Side Story remake. Just came out of nowhere, cast when she was 17 years old, and she freaking nailed it. Beyond the singing, which she was great at, beyond the dancing and look at me, I'm so pretty, which yes she is. But
that.
like when she was acting, Maria traditionally it's a fairly simple role. I mean, it's supposed to be emotional and powerful, but it's okay. Girl falls in love, gets sad at the end.
Yeah.
And she brought a lot more character depth to it than the original did. I like Natalie Wood,
Mm.
but now this is who I see when I think of Maria.
Yeah, the Natalie Wood was good in the sense that she could do all the things that were required of her,
Mm-hmm.
and she did them well. Where she was lacking is I was just like, by the end of the film, I'm like, you idiot, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Whereas with Rachel Zegler,
Hmm.
um, there is something to say about the traditional strong feminine type.
Yes.
Because strong female lead these days
It's like,
means
look at
you
me,
are
I'm cool.
you are
But
usually that means you've removed the
That's good. I have another battery.
it means you've removed the feminine from the female.
Yeah.
But the feminine is very much in place in her performance here, whether it's I Feel Pretty or the very end of the film.
Like, you remember the scene when they're on the train going out on their date to the church, and
Mhm.
she's telling him, like, hey, look, like, this is the future. This is what needs to happen. Stop being such a stupid guy and messing all this up. And,
Yeah.
not just in the terms of, like, oh, I'm a girl, I know better than you, but, like, she doesn't have all her, emotions pumped up and, like, oh, this is a gang war that we got to finish. She's like, guys, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You're going to get someone hurt.
She
She's compassionate. But more than the first, Natalie Wood, she very much had a spine. She did, have that strong thing that we really, want to see these days, where she's showing up for her, up against her brother. She's talking to people who she normally wouldn't in the original.
Yeah, the thing that I really like about the train sequence all the way up to the church is when they actually converse together in that wonderful sequence. She actually stands up to Tony and says, "This is dumb. This is not the way things should be."
Mhm.
And that's when it clicked in his mind.
Yeah.
She's more than just a pretty face who's just gonna be the whim of my dreams and my wishes. It's like, oh, she's a human. She has an opinion, and she's not.
And she's
rude
convincing
about
me.
it.
She's
Yeah.
changing my mind. Yeah.
And he's like, ah, that's even more attractive, and
Uh-huh.
that is more attractive.
So yeah, she's going to be in the next Shazam movie. She's going to be playing Snow White, which I'm very curious about a lot of things in that movie. But that aside,
Good luck with that one.
she's also going to be playing in the Hunger Games prequel about the young President Snow. He's supposed to be tasked with, like, oh, go help one of these, what are they called, champions or tributes?
Tributes, yeah.
Like, go help a tribute from a district no one cares about, and he has to make her the superstar that's going to get all the attention and win. And from what we know, it's not a story with a happy ending, because we know he lives and turns evil, and, well, she's very skilled at tragedies, as we've learned. So yeah, Rachel Zegler, big fan, and I think more people should keep an eye out for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are our honorable mentions out of the way. We want to get to our main attractions. These are the ones that, how are people not giving them the credit they're due? Some of these people, everyone knows them, and they think they're a joke. Other, like, wait, who's that? We've forgotten who that is.
Right.
Who's the first one we got?
First one we got here is Hayden Christensen, who a lot of people, because I was one of those people until Jed introduced me to the film Shattered Glass, which is this excellent film about essentially a journalist who fabricates all of his stories, and he's very good storyteller. He's very convincing. But then when
and he's very good at kind of doing the Clark Kent, aw shucks, I'm humble, I'm just a small town guy, very charming and boyish, and exactly the kind of guy you'd never expect was this cold, calculating liar who is coasting on all of his fabrications.
Right, and then they start looking into it, and just the desperation by the end of the film, where he's just like, "Oh, Tony or whatever the guy's name is. You know me, and I know you, and there's actually a reason. Just give me some time." He's trying to buy time, and all that to make up for his lying, gummy stories that he's made up, pulled out of his butt. So.
Yeah. And okay, you mentioned it earlier, his association with Star Wars. George Lucas has been very frank that he doesn't really like working with actors. If everything were equal, he'd probably work solely in animation, because then you don't have to work with actors.
Right.
But when you do see Hayden Christensen in Star Wars, not with George Lucas, say what you will about the Kenobi series, we thought it was good enough. We liked it. But Hayden Christensen, in his few moments where he appeared, really brought something excellent to it. I never really saw him as Vader, but he brought so much more depth to Anakin and Vader, uniting them as one person. Like, that was an acting, come on, you had like 5 minutes of screen time and you did an impossible job.
The crazy thing about that is they gave the wrong pitch for the show. Like the rematch of the century, it's the end of the fight that is the best scene in the whole series, hands down. All of us agreed. Everyone who's seen it, as far as I can tell, at least
it's not just because of Ewan McGregor's excellent work.
No, it's just the way they were able to, and they borrowed from an idea from the show Rebels. I'd say they improved the idea from the show,
an already good idea.
and they made it better. And I was like, wow, this is really good.
Mm.
And not just that, even him just scowling or showing him in the past, I was like, he's quite good, you
Yeah.
know? And just kind of wish, and I bet George Lucas kind of wishes he let Ron Howard or Steven Spielberg or somebody else take the reins for some of the prequels.
Right, he did
Made
try.
it easier. So, but they all refused. They're like, "You're George Lucas," and he's like, I know, that's the problem. I know.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder if he still would have been cast in that case.
Maybe. Because George Lucas did have a tendency to kind of go for the outside the box choice. On paper, if it's 2001-ish and you're casting Anakin Skywalker, the person who will become Darth Vader, do you choose Hayden Christensen or 2001 era Leonardo DiCaprio?
Right.
You probably go with the latter. George Lucas said, "I see something in this kid. I'm going with Hayden Christensen."
Yeah. And
He saw something in it. I just don't know if he was the best person to get it out of him.
yeah.
Although, I'll give him this. In a George Lucas scene, in a scene that I don't see anyone give Hayden Christensen credit for, when he finds out that he finds out Padme is pregnant,
Yeah, that scene.
just a range of emotions flows through him, and with so much you see, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm afraid, I'm sad. This means I can't be a Jedi anymore, but wait, we're having a family. And what he talks about Padme, he talks about, don't worry about any of that. The subtle thing, he in that whole movie doesn't really like, man, I'm so excited to be a dad, I'm gonna have a kid or whatever. He's always talking about Padme. That's a subtle hint to show, even in that very first scene, his priorities are not quite straight.
Right.
Good, like surprisingly good job on the writing and performance there.
I've seen a lot of people who defend the prequels who say, sure, maybe not the best line deliveries. I'll give you that. But when you watch them specifically in Revenge of the Sith, anything to do with the eyes,
Yeah,
anything to do with
just
expression,
silent acting, just
he's-
use your face.
he's quite good. And he's also,
He's got the Kubrick stare down.
yeah, he's very good at also having the same speech pattern as Darth Vader, which he intentionally did.
Or like, you never think about it in the moment, but in episode 2, when he wakes up on Naboo, standing out on the deck, he's in the exact position that Vader always is, looking out the Star Destroyer window.
Right.
I doubt George Lucas told him to do that. That's something he would have done on his own.
Quite possibly, and that's something they frequently do in the Clone Wars series. Is whenever he's disappointed, he does the hands behind the back sort of thing. Robert, any thoughts on Hayden Christensen?
I don't like him.
Those are that is thought. Singular.
Like
Plural, thought.
Thoughts. I liked him in Jump. That's the other movie.
Jumper?
Jumper. Sorry,
Yeah.
not Jump.
Oh yeah, that's where Mace Windu
Then
beats
Jumper.
him up.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a seat in the
Yeah.
ice.
Yeah. Take a seat.
But I really enjoyed him in that movie.
Yes. Like any actor, if you pair them with good writing, good dialogue, and a director who knows how to get a good performance out of them, that's when you can judge someone off of their acting work. But when you judge Hayden Christensen off of somebody who doesn't really like writing or directing actors, and you can still find a few good moments, you've got something good on your hands.
Well, and that's one of the things that you'll come to find out with this list is the fact that we have some people who they are recognized as good actors, but they're not taken to the level where they could be taken to. Hayden Christensen is one of those examples of he's a great actor who was given writing that may not have been the best.
And
next one.
And director.
Yeah, the next one, we have somebody who, very well known. I think only recently people are starting to give him the credit he deserves. Robert?
Daniel freaking Radcliffe. The mic is not on the pictures. I was.
Okay. You had me worried there for
I
a second.
apologize, everyone, for those.
Oh
last
no, I
ones.
have to talk about that.
Let me fix that real quick so you guys can actually hear us on there. That's awkward. I think that's the right one. Yeah. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, Daniel Radcliffe. This guy, he's known as Harry Potter. That's what he's been known for years. But he has a lot of great acting ability.
Yeah.
I mean, he was raised, kind of pretty much raised up around
like the greatest British actors out there.
Yeah.
And he held his own in those movies. I will say, sometimes, every once in a while, you go back, especially with the earlier ones, Not all of his line deliveries are the greatest, but like he's a 12-year-old. He's still learning. Like Albus Dumbledore is the greatest sorcerer in the world. And like, okay, good job, kid.
Yeah.
But
Nice try.
especially as the series went on, you're like, oh no, this guy can actually do it. But then Harry Potter ends. The role of a lifetime gone. What does he do? I want to play a farting corpse. I want to play, Victor Frankenstein's henchman. I want to play, a dude with horns. I want to play a guy with guns stapled to his hands.
I want to play Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. And through all these small movies, he's been building up his resume, working with lots of weird, interesting people, and really developing his chops. I would never, before seeing the movie, I never would have thought it, but yeah, a farting corpse made me cry. Thanks to Daniel Radcliffe. But beyond that, yes, we saw Weird. We talked about it a little bit ago. Comedy is really hard. People, there's the saying, dying on screen is easy, comedy is hard. And Daniel Radcliffe nailed every single second.
And including the latter and former of that statement. So
He took very funny writing, very funny direction, and he elevated it so much.
yeah, he pulled off a very alternate universe version of Weird Al that is very funny.
When he needed to be deadpan, he was perfect. When he needed to be over the top and crazy, perfect.
I think my favorite line is just after he's berating his own team, then Madonna's like, "Those guys seem nice. Yeah, they're great." That's so funny. That makes I'm like, okay, that was really funny to listen. After he's basically fired everyone who
Yeah.
cares about him. She's like, they seem nice. Yeah, they're great.
So yeah, if you've only seen Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, he's good. He's great. We love him as Harry Potter. Go see him as anything else. He really has become great, especially in Weird Al.
Yeah, I wanted to do a brief appreciation for the scene where Dobby dies.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think that's my favorite Harry Potter acting scene
Mm-hmm.
because Robert will know the reference to this. In my own life, we had a dog named Wicket, a little Shih Tzu, and unfortunately, she died of cancer.
Yeah.
And so I remember holding, her dead body,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember Harry Potter holding Dobby or Dobby, however
Yeah.
I say it, and I was like, when he's like, I want to bury him, I was like, I dug the grave of the dog because that's what Harry Potter did. That's
Mhm.
what Daniel Radcliffe did in that movie.
Yeah.
I remember that playing through my head as I'm holding essentially my favorite dog I think
Yeah.
I've ever had. And so, you never know what kind of weird things will go through your head during that sort of scenario. But
Yeah.
that was one of those things, and that stood out to me, and
Mhm.
I feel like he did a really good job in that. And he's since done, like as you said, other great things, and he's more than just Harry Potter at this
Mhm.
point now. So
No, it's because of it. Everyone knew him as Harry Potter that he was like, I'm not doing franchises anymore.
Yeah.
which is
So, I mean, he specifically said that in reference to Marvel that he won't play Wolverine, which I think he would have done an excellent job, but I'm still going to be happy to see him play other roles.
yeah.
And I don't understand why he wouldn't want to get tied to like
Yeah. But like,
Yeah.
he's only what 31 or something like that. He has a long career ahead of him.
Google it for you.
Yeah, he's in his 30s. He's not that old. Got a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
He's about probably as
He's
old as
33
my.
years old.
33.
He's
Yeah.
as old as my oldest sister. I'm pretty sure.
Mm. So yeah.
Well, he has better prospects than Emma Watson. No offense to her, but
Yeah, I would have thought going out of Harry Potter that she would have been one of the people to have the most success.
I
And
think so.
she's done a few movies since Harry Potter, but
Then
not a lot.
then poor old
And
Rupert
not
is
not
in,
great ones.
old Rupert is in hiding or something. I don't know what he's doing.
He's done a
This guy was chilling.
yeah, he's
He's just
he's
like,
like,
I'm retired.
yeah, I've got a lot of money. But then he did an Apple TV show as like Servant that apparently he was excellent in. And now he's joining with M. Night Shyamalan for this adaptation of a novel that everything I've heard about is fascinating. It's like The Cabin at the End of the World. And it's Shyamalan, 50-50 chance of being terrible or great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see Rupert Grint's big return to the big screen.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems like a really awesome,
Yeah.
chill dude.
Just a chill, humble guy.
It's like, yeah, I kissed Emma Watson.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
But all right.
All
Let's
right.
go
Moving
to the
on.
next one.
We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the meme.
Mother Cage.
Listen, we all love Nicolas Cage, and I think the whole world loves Nicolas Cage. But the whole world knows and loves Nicolas Cage, the meme,
Yeah.
not the bees,
Yeah.
or just all of his many wonderful faces where his eyes seem to bulge out, feet from his head.
There's wonderful computer viruses made in his image.
Yes, long story behind that one, but Nicolas Cage is an unending source of happiness and glee. But if you ask most people, hey, what's your favorite Nicolas Cage part? You say like, oh, he's I like him in National Treasure, or if it's a '90s kid, man, he was awesome in Face Off. He has won an Oscar.
Yeah.
He plays an author who leaves his wife and says, I'm going to commit suicide in Las Vegas by drinking myself to death. And he falls in love with a prostitute who then tries to save his life, and he refuses. It's really dark, heavy stuff. He's worked with Martin Scorsese, playing an ambulance driver who is doing his very best to keep his own life together and is failing, and that starts affecting the people who he's trying to save. He's worked with Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
He worked with, freaking everyone. Or just last year, Pig,
an
an incredibly understated performance that everyone thought was going to be a hilariously bad John Wick ripoff, ended up being one of the best movies of the year because of Nicolas Cage. And even in movies that people know him from, like National Treasure, I think it was Jerry Bruckheimer, he said the movie works because Nicolas Cage is able to take something that seems preposterous and take it seriously while still admitting that it's preposterous.
Right. He's also his range is great in the sense in that he can be in those heavy rated R films, PG-13 films, PG films. He's great in The Croods.
Yeah, he's
Like,
a
he's
really
like
good
the
voice actor.
funniest part in that movie. He's also great in Into the Spider-Verse.
I didn't
yeah.
even realize he was in the Croods for the
Yeah,
longest time.
he's the dad.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I knew that now, but like,
Right,
it's
yeah.
so funny. And Spider-Man Spider-Verse is like one of my favorite movies.
Go, the wind follows, and the wind brings rain.
And always,
I let the mats burn down to my fingertips so I can actually feel something.
anything.
Anything.
Dad, my butt's on fire. Try hiding from it in the tall tree now. So he's gotten his recognition from the Academy or whatever, but
Mhm.
he's so much more than just the memes and the face and the crazy.
And he's more than the direct to video movies that he did for half the 2010s. He was in a bad financial spot. He said yes to pretty much every movie, but dude loves movies. He loves being in movies. He has a knowledge of like Hollywood that's almost unrivaled. You go up to him and ask him about this. Oh, did you hear about this 1920s silent German, expressionist film that has never been found since? He's like, oh yeah, I love that film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's why I really like Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, because he talks about that kind of stuff.
uh-huh. And so he's a man who loves his craft. He's not just crazy guy who bought a T-Rex skull and had to return it.
Yeah, I think it was a GQ interview or something like that, where he just talks about rumors and things, and he's like, so when I did Ghost Rider, people asked me if the body that I had, the ripped body, was real or not. And I said, yes, it's real, and I'm never doing it again. What's the point if nobody thinks it's real? That sort of thing. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, that makes sense. This guy is he makes sense even though he acts like a weirdo in virtually
Yeah.
everything he's in.
He takes it seriously, and if people don't take what he's doing seriously, he says, "I won't
don't
do
I
it."
don't want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, he's been in a film with Hayden Christensen. Never saw it, but
Seventh Son, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it? I
I
can't.
think it was in
remember
his
the name.
direct-to-video phase. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's like, Hayden Christensen. He's actually a pretty talented actor, and I
Yeah.
was like, huh, interesting. Those are two actors that
Right.
are underrated. They're together.
And I'll give him endless respect for this. He's the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, maybe the greatest director ever. And he changed his name so that people wouldn't accuse him of nepotism, so that everything he earned would be off of his own work and credentials.
And he sure accomplished it because
Yeah.
for years I didn't know he was his nephew, but
Uh-huh.
when you know that, you're like, this guy is not trying to ride the coattails of his
No.
uncle,
Mhm.
and pretty sure his uncle was like, I can't remember the story.
Hmm.
Never mind, we'll pass on.
All right. Well, we'll pass on that one. In fact, we'll pass on to the next actor. This is one that's a little close to your heart. Is a good old Aussie.
Yes, Tony Collette. Um, the first thing I think I didn't see the film, but I
Hmm.
saw a commercial for it. I think it's like Muriel's Wedding or something like that.
Hmm.
It's this movie where I think she's supposed to be like an ugly duckling or whatever, but
Yeah.
finally finds a guy who brings out the beauty.
Hmm.
Because you could see her playing an awkward, ugly duckling, but she's also, I think, she's a pretty woman.
Yeah, and she's aged very gracefully. She still looks great.
Yeah, because you take her in 1999 with The Sixth Sense versus today, it's like she's still playing a mom, like in what was the film?
Hereditary,
Yeah, she still plays a mom in Hereditary.
robbed of an Oscar, not just an Oscar nomination, an Oscar win. She was
Mm.
incredible. And you're like, okay, yeah, it's a horror movie, but when you watch the movie and you see not only the madness that she goes through, but just, forget the horror aspects of it. A mother who her son took his sister, her daughter, out to a party and came back and she was dead and he was in such a state of shock he didn't know what to do or what to say, so he didn't say anything. It just went upstairs and went to bed. And then she goes outside the next
Yeah.
morning and finds her daughter's headless body in the car. And you see the absolute just pain, the anguish just tearing her apart as it ends up tearing her family apart. All the horror aspects of aside, she was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that goes for The Sixth Sense as well.
The concern she shows for her son.
Yeah, and there's even like playful moments. Like
Yeah,
you'll have a moment where she's pushing Cole in the cart, and he's like basically doing the radio thing
yeah.
and having a ball. And then the next scene, she's like, "So why do you keep stealing the pendant that Grandma gave me?"
Hmm.
And he's like, "I didn't steal it." And she's like, "Okay, if you tell me the truth, I won't get mad at you." And so he tells her the truth that he didn't steal it because it's freaking ghosts. She
Hmm.
can't see that though. And so she like is like, "All right, go to bed now," and she just loses it with him, and
Hmm.
it's like
But then
that's a sad
you see
scene.
the catharsis in her when he tells her
Oh boy,
everything
yeah,
grandmother had been wanting to tell her. It's heartbreaking,
yeah,
but it's so heartwarming at the same time.
and that just makes me think. A brief shout out to Haley Joel Osment
Yeah,
specifically in that film.
he was nominated for an Oscar too. They both were.
Yeah, they both were brilliant in that film, and
Hmm.
it's amazing what he pulled off. That may be the best child performance I've ever seen.
It may be, yeah.
So,
But on top of her amazing horror background, her amazing drama, her amazing romance, she's funny as crap. If you're one of the few souls on Earth who hasn't seen Knives Out, watch it. It's a delight. And everyone in the movie is playing somewhat of a cartoon character, just barely heightened. Not quite Looney Tunes, but halfway there. And so she's a parody of Gwyneth Paltrow, the dumbest person on earth, but she has her own skin beauty line. It's like, oh yeah, it's Goop, it's all natural, it's so good for you. And like, wait, you? I read a tweet about a New Yorker article about you. Famous. And then, when
oh
she's
my
trying to get
gosh.
money out of some old guy's dead, his will, and she's like, oh, what about does this rule apply? I did Google that one.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah,
She's such a piece of scum in that movie, but she's so likable. It's hard to remember that she's trying to scam an old man out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah. And what's remarkable is if you didn't know any better,
Mm,
you would think that she was an American actress, but
flawless accent.
yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do because usually even high caliber actors like Russell Crowe on occasion you'll
Hmm.
catch them or
Sometimes Nicole
Liam
Kidman.
Liam Neeson or
Yeah,
whatever, but she is quite flawless, and
she's as Aussie as they come.
that's a pretty impressive talent there.
Hmm.
So I think she is definitely underrated.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I think our next one is a bit of an interesting choice for underrated. I do think he's underrated. But at one point, this man was the star of the
Yeah,
highest grossing R rated movie ever. He was the star of the highest grossing Christian movie ever.
same movie.
Yeah, same movie.
Ironically enough.
And yet, this man disappeared off the face of the earth for as far as so many were concerned. We're talking about Jim Caviezel.
Jim. The first thing I saw Jim Caviezel in was Count of Monte Cristo, which is he talked a little bit about that film in an interview where he, the director and the writers were like, "Oh, we might take God out of it," and he's like, "If you've read the book, God is central to this story and his
Mhm.
relationship with God." And there's a great line, and Jim Caviezel himself is a strong, strong Catholic actor, which
Mhm.
is, it's not unprecedented, but it is something that is increasingly becoming rare, especially people who are open about the religion. He's
Yeah.
always been open about it,
Mhm.
even to the extent where when when he's doing the Count of Monte Cristo, there's a scene where he's supposed to reunite with his love, and it's implied that they make love or whatever. It
Mhm.
doesn't show anything, but he's like says to the actress allegedly,
Mm.
"Hey, I know that we're supposed to be like doing this, but I'm a happily married man. I don't want to go too far or anything." And
Mm.
she's like, "Jim, this is produced by Disney. I'm not going to grab you." And so, just that story, or just the story of bringing God back
Yeah.
into the film, where there's a great line where he's talking to the priest as he's dying.
Mhm.
Spoilers. He says to him, "I don't believe in God, priest." And the priest says, "It doesn't matter. He believes in you." And I was like, "This is really good." And that was Richard Harris,
Mm.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And them going back and forth.
One of his last performances,
I,
wasn't
I
it?
think it was either his last one or second to last one, but
Richard
it
Harris.
was
Richard
yeah.
Harris.
He's the original Dumbledore,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
And he was the Emperor in Gladiator.
Yeah, that was another good role for him.
Mhm.
But another good, less dramatic, more comedic scene is when he's like 5,412 bricks. I've counted them 1,000 times. And then Richard Harris, "But have you named them yet?" Then he just breaks down crying. He's like, he goes through all the range of emotions:
Mhm.
revenge, sadness, happiness, joy,
Yeah.
love. It's a great performance, and I was like, this guy could be Batman.
He could have been in
Back in the
another
day,
world.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, okay, Passion of the Christ. Everyone talks about how it feels like the goriest torture movie you've ever seen, like a Saw movie or something. At times, like the whipping scene that in reality probably took 2 minutes and yet it takes half an hour. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. But this is a man who learned all of his lines in pretty flawless Aramaic
Yeah,
and still gave a really excellent performance as, I mean, okay, I'm going to be Jesus Christ in a movie. How do you do that without A, not being boring,
yeah.
B, not looking pretentious, and C, still feeling human, with while still D, still feeling like Christ.
Right.
It's an impossible role that a few actors have, done justice to over the years, and he may be chief amongst them.
Absolutely. The things that he went through physically for that role,
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Usually we'll say, "Oh, Christian Bale, he got fat or he got skinny." Jim
Which
Caviezel,
impressive.
yeah, Jim Caviezel, while carrying the cross, actually got crushed under the weight. His skull, he
Yeah.
started to like bleed out of his nose because of the weight, because he actually fell. And
Mm-hmm.
people were thought, "Oh, he's still acting." He's like, "Help!" And then when he was on the cross,
Mm-hmm.
he got struck by lightning twice.
Yeah.
And it's like, that guy, there's some kind of force either trying to stop him
Or save him.
yeah.
Or both.
And
Seeing as
and it's like Christian Bale got fat, and not to take away Christian Bale, brilliant actor, but
Mm.
I I'd rather just sit around and get fat than get hit
Mm.
by lightning, for crying
And
out
have a
loud.
giant cross fall on you.
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing was not light.
it was like 40 pound, yeah, 40, 50, 100. I don't even know, but and the thing that Mel Gibson was, when he talked about casting Jim, he's like, Jim is not some scrawny, effeminate man.
No.
Jim's like a 6'2" dude. He's a strong guy. He's manly. He's masculine. I wanted Jesus to reflect that, because a lot of, even in and they're both Catholic.
Mm.
Even in Catholic pictures, they can really,
Sometimes it's very soft and look how wise and perfect and holy I am.
or the body on the cross is basically this rail of a
Yeah.
man versus a man.
Yeah.
As we know a man
A
to do.
carpenter for 30 years.
Yeah, and somebody who's physically always on the go and active
Mhm.
and all those things. And that was a really big role that both made and broke him in the sense that
Yes.
Hollywood,
It was his biggest role, but it was also something that Hollywood would probably never let him recover from.
right? And up to that point, he had done Monte Cristo. He did another film with Denzel Washington. Can't
Mm.
remember the film, but they like go back in time to stop him, and he's like a killer.
I think I.
I can't remember what that's called.
Robert's going to save us.
Yes, save us.
Oh, and real quick for Richard Harris.
Yeah.
His last final screen role was Lucius Sola in Caesar.
Haven't heard of it.
Yeah, my little brother.
Fun fact.
Um,
But while you're looking that up,
Mm.
just briefly go into Person of Interest, which is something that Robert introduced me to,
Hmm.
where he basically plays this ex CIA operative, I think it is.
Hmm.
no, he doesn't have. He's been dead.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's dead,
Quote unquote.
retired. But anyway, he runs into, and it's I think it was written by Jonathan Nolan,
Yep.
one of the creators. But it's essentially this idea where he gets pulled out of retirement as a bum off the street to help this guy who invented a machine that basically looks into people's lives and can predict if they're going to potentially commit a crime, and they have no idea.
Google algorithm.
Yeah, and they have no idea how what crime will be done. But sorry about that. They have no idea what crime is going to be done, but they have to go and investigate to see who's the criminal and who's the victim, and so on and so forth. And it's very fascinating. He's quite good as an action guy in his 40s, I think, when he was doing that. There's a lot of cool scenes in there that I really like.
Deja Vu was the.
That's the one.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he was acting along with the best of the best back in the day. So he's a very good actor who deserved more, but I think he's content where he's at.
Yeah.
He's not ashamed.
I'd love it if, a director like a Quentin Tarantino who loves to revive, older Hollywood stars' careers. I would love it if he were to do that with Jim Caviezel. I don't know if he would say yes, considering it's Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
But if it's the right role, if it's, treated the right way, then I could see it happening. But even if it's not Quentin Tarantino, someone's going to see the potential this star has.
Right. Actors like I didn't know this, but Patrick Warburton is more on the conservative and the Christian side. He still works with Seth MacFarlane. He just says, I tune out whenever they bring in the religious jokes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can make those kind of compromises, so it is possible. However, they would just have to find some kind of compromise.
Yes.
Sorry, Patrick Warburton. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I
near and dear to Robert's heart and his throat.
Hey.
Not like that.
You gotta be careful.
Vocal cords.
Vocal cords. That's
larynx.
Yeah, larynx, pharynx.
I don't know the names of these.
The cricoid cartilage.
Yes.
Fun.
I don't know how well that actually picks up on the mic.
But yeah, that's Patrick Warburton's pretty cool. I don't know that he's underrated, but
yeah, people love him.
I think he's definitely underrated because everyone knows Kronk. They know Joe from Family Guy.
They're like, oh yeah, the wolf from
Hoodwink, which is a very obscure role he's done.
Yeah.
Or the Tick.
The Tick.
Or Lemony Snicket.
Lemony Snicket, yeah. He's good, and he's been. I was fascinated reading about him because he's been married once. He's a conservative Christian type, and I was like,
real interesting.
Didn't know that.
He did a comedy special for the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Subscribe
cool.
to Daily Wire.
Yeah, subscribe to the Daily Wire.
All right. We have one more, and
sorry. Side note. Speaking of, because with Jim going through all he's gone through, this next actor has gone through a lot as well.
Yeah, he kind of takes the cake for comeback stories. One that we are in the very midst of as we speak. We're talking about somebody who, when he debuted, most people thought of him as a heartthrob.
Oh yeah.
He's just the action star, the good-looking hunk. Maybe not maybe not a whole lot between his ears, but he, everyone loves him. And then he kind of disappeared, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, him.
Yeah.
He said, all right, you guys aren't going to take me seriously. I'm going to make you take me seriously. We're talking about Brendan Fraser.
Absolutely.
I got two pictures of him, by the way, like when he's younger and now.
Yeah. Why are we
Perfect.
talking about Brendan Fraser right now specifically?
Now specifically, well,
Hmm.
there's this great. Well, I don't know if it's great or not, but potentially great performance
Hmm.
from Brendan Fraser in the upcoming film, which has already been released. Correct?
It released yesterday. Yeah.
The Whale, where he plays an morbidly obese man who's uh, got nothing to lose, is trying to eat himself to death as
Hmm.
he slowly reconnects his relationship with his daughter.
And just from what you said, it sounds like a very dark, depressing, feel the pain and sadness kind of movie. And when the
Good for
trailer
that.
and when the trailer released,
Yeah.
he has one line. And what is that line? I may not remember it word for word. It was like, "Don't you get the feeling that people are incapable of being cruel? People are amazing."
Yeah, yeah, that I watched that with Brendan, my brother, and he said he's like, "Wow, that was that just that alone." I was like, "I got to see this movie."
Yeah, give him the Oscar. I almost cried over this one line that a man gave. He, for those of you who don't know, won't go too far into it, but he is, he was a man, one of the rare cases of a man in Hollywood who was Me Too'd himself.
Yeah,
And he just, look, I've got enough money. I'm just going to go, maybe I'll do the occasional movie, but I'm just going to go live like on a ranch somewhere. I'll raise my family. I don't need to come back to this.
but unfortunately, he suffered through not just being Me Too, he
Mm.
suffered through a very bad divorce where he lost a lot of money, and he made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
He started out uh, George of the Jungle.
Yeah. Went on to do The Mummy. How many injuries did he get, especially in the third Mummy movie?
I know for sure, he screwed up his back. He
Mm-hmm.
screwed up at least one knee. I'm pretty sure a shoulder as well.
Yeah.
He said basically he was held together by duct tape and ice packs for 3 months or something. He had to have several surgeries, and
Mm-hmm.
when you actually see him, he has a brief shirtless scene in that movie. It's like, wow, this guy is in really good shape, and then all of a sudden, it feels like 2008 just fast forwarded to today, or even last year or the year before, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what happened to Brendan Fraser? And you
Yeah.
see him, and he's put on all this weight. He's lost a lot of hair and all these things, and I remember watching this video where they just went over, he had a goofy moment where he had a awkward looking laugh at an award ceremony, and people
Mm-hmm.
just roasted him up and down, and people didn't realize what he's going through. His mother had died. He had been Me Too'd. He had been through a terrible divorce. He had all these injuries.
Mm-hmm.
All these things just stacked up against an actor who, in my opinion, is one of those a few actors that really give their body,
Yeah.
not just, oh, I changed my body because I ate myself into obesity, but rather
Right.
he put his body on the line to do all these stunts that are
Mm-hmm.
difficult and dangerous and
Yeah.
things.
After being injured many times, he kept on saying, "I'll do it. I'll step up to the plate."
Yeah, and it's fascinating to watch those films. And every time he does something in The Mummy, when I rewatch them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this could have been one of those injuries he's
Yeah.
talking about. But he would do it anyway, and he still loves pleasing people, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that he's very good at. I compared him in his heyday. I'd say he was just the white Will Smith, so to speak. If Will Smith was white, he would be Brendan Fraser.
Likeable, funny, goofy, charming.
Charismatic. The
Yeah.
the ladies love him. Like, my sisters don't tend to express an interest in actors as far as whether they're good looking or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I think
Poor
all of my
bastard.
sisters have said that they're all like, yeah, Brendan Fraser is a handsome man. Even my mom is like, I love watching Brendan Fraser. I was like, I wonder why. But and I'm, he could have chosen the path of sadness and darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad he's still with us.
Yeah.
I'm glad he chose to stick around, and I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that
He's having a career revival, a renaissance, thanks to Darren Aronofsky bringing him back.
and the audience is well receiving him, and
Mm-hmm.
even Hollywood, the
They're all like, "We screwed up. We treated you badly. We're welcoming you back into the fold."
yeah, and the graciousness and the kindness, the fact it is such a nice thing when we can unite, whether you're a Hollywood elite or whether you're the average moviegoer or the hardcore moviegoer, we can all unite and say Brendan Fraser is a gift to the industry. He has done a lot for. He is the people. He is the People Choice Awards,
Mm-hmm.
symbol in my mind. It's great that we can be united on being kind to somebody for a change.
Yeah.
That is unique. It is heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
It's very touching, and I'm pleased to be a part of it. I'm pleased to
Yeah.
see a resurgence for the man.
It's amazing coming out of these years of COVID where everyone's stuck inside yelling at each other online. When they do go out, is to go out and riot and do terrible things. On top of that, we have an election. We have so many controversies outside of politics. 2022, between the revival of Brendan Fraser's career and the main theme of Everything Everywhere All at Once, be kind, especially when you don't know what's going on.
Love that quote.
It's been a very refreshing, very needed message of, look, everyone's going through something. Don't presume to know their story. Try and be patient. Try and be kind.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what's going on. Um, but yeah, it's good to see the man back, and he's openly said he's gonna try to uh, live a healthier life,
Yeah,
and that's probably a
he's
reflection of
in,
playing a morbidly obese man.
you've seen in recent interviews he's lost some weight. His hair looks a little healthier now. His features are a little more pronounced, but beyond that, he smiles more. He's more confident. You're seeing the person he used to be.
He also had throat surgery, I think,
Yeah.
a couple of years back. So he used to be like talking like this, a little bit of a strain.
Mhm.
Now his voice is fuller and
Yeah.
almost back to where it was, and
Mhm.
it's good to see that.
Yeah.
Um, Brendan Fraser may be a reflection of every decade he's lived in,
Mm.
and maybe if that's true, then there's hope for the
Hope for the
future.
2020s.
Yeah, for the future that we'll have a resurgence of good
Mm.
things to come, and I certainly hope so.
Yeah,
If not for the rest of us, well, I'm happy for Brendan Fraser then.
absolutely. You found a way take my joke about it, Christmas, and we're gonna talk about
Yeah,
actors. You still made this heartwarming and charming. So
yeah.
with that, I'm not typically someone who's overwhelmingly just full of Christmas joy and cheer, but you know, it's a season where you want to find the good in humanity. And so, yeah, with that, these have been some of our, favorite, most underrated actors. If you do anything as you have time off on, over this Christmas break, look for some of the movies we've recommended that you may not have seen. You're not going to regret it. Watch Weird. Watch Shattered Glass. Okay, maybe don't watch Hereditary. It may
Yeah,
not be to your taste, but watch Knives Out.
watch The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, watch Pig. There's so many things for you to watch. So please, please go watch these amazing movies, spend time with your family, and appreciate people for what they can give you.
Please
Oh,
recommend to us
yes.
uplifting films as well.
Yeah, uplifting
that you
films.
would
Talk
like us
about
to see.
underrated actors, underrated movies. Yeah, we're very excited to see what you have for us in the comments. Robert, go ahead and close us out. Where can they find us?
You can find us at Twitter at of Cinemax, and I lied, we did not change it yet.
Working on that.
That's on me. And also we have a few Let's Plays coming out, so check out our YouTube, and you can help support us on Anchor.fm. And it's $4.99 a month, guys. Please, I mean it's not that hard. Just saying. Well, unless you're not working,
Wow.
then it's gonna be more.
Unless you hated the content, it's gonna be pretty hard.
If you
But
hate the
if
content,
you can,
so there's more for you to hate.
yeah, yeah.
Hey,
You need us more than the rest of the world does. Like, if you can't hate, then how will you make your money?
Exactly. Well, we will catch you guys next week. Well, maybe. This is the holiday season. No promises.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out Monday and Wednesday for those Let's Plays.
Yes. All right. Signing off.